And so a few words about real-time survey. Actually, that is the foundation for our platforms. And we started with a survey platform providing data collection on mobile devices, smartphone and tablets. And it allows us to conduct data collection, and we are able to do data entry, very similar to other copy competitors. But what actually separates us from others is actually we are able to do data cleaning, data analysis, survey management, and a lot of other utilities that are needed for survey data collection projects in real time. So you can just conduct your survey with our platform, and once you finish a few work, almost everything is ready for decision making. Next, please. But then recently we've been shifting our focus on, since the real-time survey has been matured. Recently we've been focusing on two other platforms, which is the real-time workspace and real-time home. And with real-time workspace, it allows us to create a lot of workflow capabilities, because it includes the three very powerful engines, essential engines, which is data collection. And this inherits from the real-time survey platform, right? So we can create any kind of electronic form that captures various kinds of data: text, number, images, location, videos, audio, and so on, right? Anything you can think of. And it is very easy with the smartphones nowadays. Then we have analytical engine, which is based on the R language, and it allows us to conduct any kind of analysis, which are available on both on the cloud and on the app, right? So various people working on the field entering data, and you can see results in dynamic formats that are updated as soon as there is new data coming into the system. And then we have a set of communication engines that deliver the analyzed information to decision makers. So these are the model of the essential engines that allow us to create very flexible workflows, right? And that makes the workspace product. Next, please. And so we've been utilizing this technology to create specialized workflows for farm management. And as I am showing you on the screen, we've been using this technology and QR code to create sequential workflows for banana farming management. And so the idea is that you would be able to capture anything that happens to an individual banana plant, right? Using QR code to ID a specific plant, and you can just, whatever you do, there is a form that you can use to capture that. And you can even use graphics and so on, so that you facilitate the use for even illiterate people, right? A lot of people working in the field, they are not able to read. And we can use the other graphics to have them. Next, please. And so with the data collected via the data entry engine, we can have the dynamic analytics, as you can see on the screen, that allows you to see what is going on in a plot, on a particular plant, and so on. So you can identify the diseases, you can identify the growth of a particular plant or field, so that you can make decision a lot faster, right? Next, please. Yes, and recently we've been partnering with a number of research organizations, in particular CIAT Vietnam. So actually CIAT Vietnam is the one that connects Peterson and us together, and we've been developing a lot of ideas and projects to focus on vegetables, rice, fruits, coffee, and so on, right? To create specific workflows for specific commodity. And because every commodity follows different workflows, and we are focusing on some commodities, for example, rice, coffee, and fruits and vegetable, right? And in the pipeline, we are developing a lot of other workflow as well, right? The next, please. The last
John,
one.
An awesome introduction. I know I'm giving you guys only 5 minutes. So you talked a little bit about, of course, smartphones, because now they're everywhere. But are they everywhere in rural farming communities? And how are you seeing farmers adopt these kinds of tools? Or are you guys still working at the level of a farm extension officer or farm manager?
Right. Actually, I have a lot of information to share with you. So in Vietnam, the adoption rate of smartphone is around 70%, right? And it's been, skyrocketing over the past few years. And so we're expecting, I think, next year and the next 2 years, at least 80%, 80 something percent of the people, including rural people, will be having a smartphone. And it's so cheap now. And it's so easy to find a smartphone as compared to, finding a regular phone, right? So people are not selling regular phones nowadays even, right? So in terms of having a smartphone, it's so easy. It's more challenging to to make people use the technology for the activities. And the way we would do is actually work through cooperatives. So there are new ways of cooperatives. And yesterday I talked to 3 cooperatives. This morning I talked to Vice Minister of Ministry of Agriculture and Development, and they have a series of programs introducing the tech to cooperative, and through the cooperatives they will have us introduce the tech to the farmer members. So that's the idea. And one of the key thing is to actually build up successful cases, right? You just need to have some seating successful cases, and people will copy. Very simple.
So I'm gonna jump ahead now, Chong, and and Anya, please put up Borges' presentation, because it's a segue to what the work Borges is doing on rice, because I know, Chong, you guys are also looking at rice as well as a commodity of focus for farm management.
Yes.
And I think that I'm now going to switch over to Borja, if you're ready to talk about rice, because I think something that's very interesting that we're talking about and challenged by is not even just adoption in the phone, but now it's also data, and how do we get data in and out of a rural area. But you guys have your own stuff. So Borja, do you want to start?
Yes, hi.
So just as a quick introduction, Borja is a program manager at Peterson, and she's based in Manila.
Yes, hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Borj from Peterson Asia, program manager for climate smart agriculture and for the specific platform that I'll be talking today, which is Sticky. So next slide, please. Yes, and we are focusing on rice. I'm going to talk briefly about our rice program. So rice is obviously a major commodity that is consumed and produced globally. And there's over 90% of the world's rice is consumed and produced in the Asia and the Pacific region. So this represents more than 144 million farmers, smallholder farmers that are both consumers and producers. And as this other major commodities, there are increasing demands for transparent supply chain and verified food safety, along with environmental and social sustainability. Next slide. And in Peterson, we are advocating for leadership. And one of, as Rachel mentioned earlier, we have a strategy to invest in the Sustainable Development Goals. So we have started the development of our tool as a next generation rice, and we would like to lead to the development of a program that will eventually monetize GHG as a form of incentive for best practice in rice production through the use of a blockchain offering transparency and traceability. Of course, to achieve this, there will be a number of developmental stages. And we'll go to the next slide to show you a bit of an overview of the functionality of our ongoing mobile application tool. So this is the major areas that we are going to target in our mobile tool. For version 1 that we'll be launching on April, we are going to benchmark the sustainable rice platform, which is best practice indicator for rice. We are going to benchmark the scoring and assurance for smallholder farmers. It will include a farmer profile and farmer diary, which are both farmer record-keeping tools. And the most important thing here is that we are also going to offer farmer training through a learning page that will include preloaded training videos and mobile gaming, which is fun for millennials like me. If I want to stay in farming, then I'd like to keep my e-learning tool into an integration in a mobile game, for example. So this is one way that we want to encourage the next generation of farmers stay in farming, and also to encourage more millennials to be in the farming sector, particularly on rice. And our next version will be coming up with the marketplace and input supplier as well, to get along the other actors in the supply chain, and that farmers may be able to look at input supplies, and also consumers may reach the farmers directly. Since SRP, the Sustainable Rice Platform, has no demand yet, this will help it build the platform, the more credibility for the platform, using the data from the second version. And last, and hopefully not the last version of our tool, but we are going to integrate blockchain to ensure the traceability that is very important focus of this tool. And it will focus on food security as well, and will offer farmers performance-based incentive as well as the GHG incentive. And we go to the next slide. And a very important piece of achieving our end goal is on collaboration and partnership with people in the panel, as well as other public and private sector who are committed to development to achieve impact and scale. And next slide, please. Yes. So lastly, to achieve to achieve the impact that we want to reach a certain scale. And to do that, there's an importance of credible data coming from the sector that we're focusing. For a commodity like rice, which is both economically and culturally important in the region, so we want to also be integrated, let them be integrated into the platform as well. So the tool is a unique opportunity to influence both production and consumption here in Asia and the Pacific. And I want to leave everybody with a short quote that there is, especially on collaboration, that there is no lack of knowledge or opportunity out there, but just a shortage of asking for help and to collaborate and partner with people. So
boys, when you think about scale of adoption, you've already told us now there's 144 million rice farmers in Asia. So when you think about scale as the program manager of Sticky, where would be your first milestone of impact? Is it beyond pilot? Let's move past the pilots that we're looking at with 100 farmers or 300 farmers. Where do you think that we need to aspirationally go to say that we have any impact in rice in one country, let alone an entire region?
Yes, I think we have to view, this is viewed in a landscape perspective. So to reach a certain scale, there's a credibility on data in a landscape point of view.
And then I think that's one of our challenges, isn't it? When we talk about,
yes,
there's two issues I think you and I talk about a lot, which is, scale of adoption of the tool itself. Like, how do we get it out there? How do we get farmers to download Sticky? How do we get them to get access to training to even start adoption of that best practice? But then how are we going to define landscape? Is landscape 300 farmers in a co-op, or is landscape driven by the geography of the region in which they're growing the rice? Any thoughts? Because I'm not saying we have any of those answers yet. I think that that's things we're hoping the blockchain is going to help us with. Valentine, food for thought, in terms of how we start to brainstorm that algorithm of how we actually, in the analytics trung, you know, I think we need scale of adoption across millions of farmers. But I think the next challenge you guys that we may have as a team is, how do we define that landscape? Borge. I think I lost Borge. So, Borge, did we lose you or are you on mute? So I think we're just gonna keep moving and trucking ahead. We have some questions as well from Aria and David King in the chat box that I'll come to as soon as I've finished introducing the phenomenal Ainu Rafiq from Indonesia. And I think you're going to be able to touch a little bit on this scale question because you've reached some scale. So I'm really, really excited to hear about you in Cultiva. So whenever you're ready.
Your microphone is muted.
Well, now it is because you're going to talk. I know. So you're ready to go when you're ready. I knew. Are you muted? Technology is not our friend today. Not so well. No, we heard you earlier, but now not. And isn't it interesting? We're all super educated, smart people in technologies and offices, and we're talking about how to get farmers to use technology. Yep, I can hear you. No, I know it's not good. Can you hear him, Valentine?
No, not at all.
No, we can't hear you, I know. I can hear Valentine perfectly. No, it's your headphone.
It sounds like you're sitting in a drum and speaking.
No. And we all work
You need a better take, I know.
Yeah, there you are, but it's not great. It's your speaker, I think. Is your mute?
Try using a headphone, I know. Bisa pakai headphone ya?
So Valentine, I think what we should do is.
Hello.
There you are.
Bisa pakai headphone.
Hello. Can you hear me? Oh my God.
No. So Ananya, pull up Valentine's presentation because he's ready to go, and then maybe I need to switch out instead. Valentine, this is what we call the fast shuffle at Peterson, but I know that you can handle it. Ananya's about like, wait a minute. There we go. Okay, cool. So just to fast track everyone, Valentine Gandhi is head of development at the Dove Cafe in Indonesia. We are also talking already about collaboration on our blockchain developments. He's doing very, very cool stuff. Actually was the first person I met that could explain to me what blockchain was, and I understood them. So I will leave Valentine to explain what he's doing, which is a lot.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rachel. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you, go.
All right, so a little bit about Dev Cafe. It's a research think tank based in Kenya, Zambia, and Indonesia. In Indonesia, it's fairly new, so we operate through 3 pillars: research, innovation, and ICT 4D. And our projects on blockchains is under the ICT 4D pillar. So we work on development folks pushing technology rather than technology pushing the development folks. And so we try to bridge the gaps between the development sector and technology sector. So you usually will find me in a technology workshop talking about the development sector and vice versa in a development sector workshop. So moving to the next slide, I basically wanted to give an introduction on blockchains because usually I see a lot of discussion going on blockchains or databases and so on and so forth. As a social scientist, most of us work, I mean, almost all of us work with large networks of farmers, of refugees, of women's groups, and so on and so forth. Nearly everything we do, both in our professional lives, personal lives, not just us, the beneficiaries that we work for have some form of networks that helps serve as a safety net or as a coping mechanism in terms of vulnerabilities and shocks. And often any business they do, as a rice farmer or a banana farmer or a chickpea farmer, the networks play a crucial role in how they would benefit. And all of these networks are connected through a large value chain, right from the time of production until the time of market, and later on to the banks, and so on and so forth. And there's a wealth generated. And this, in financial terms, is stored in a ledger of sorts. And that ledger stores these transactions and contracts. The transactions are what happens if a farmer sells to a middleman or a broker, and then what happens next. And a contract, I mean, all of you know it, I'm just putting it in a simple way. So before we move to what is a blockchain, since mine was about introducing blockchains and how we can apply in agriculture or development projects. The contract is the terms that are required in order for that transaction to occur. Normally, there is a traditional database, and then there is the blockchain. All of these transactions are stored in traditional databases from a client-server perspective. Nearly all of this, right from this webinar that we are doing, from your email, from your bank account, everything is stored in a client-server platform where there is a back-end authority which goes forward and sets the way in which users would interact with the server. And then there is the user interface, or some people call it UX or UI, which is the user experience and user interface on how much a user can operate a particular or interact with a particular. That is the traditional database. So any platform that uses agricultural value chains, or I mean, any platform that is used by agricultural value chains, whether large crops like rice or small subsistence crops, it relies on this client server platform. And often it can be manipulated, which we see in many countries, as to fudge figures or exploit farmers and so on and so forth. But blockchain, on the other hand, does not follow the client-server user interface. Everybody have decentralized nodes. I'm sorry if I sound too technical, but I try to keep it as simple as possible. Every database has this major authority, and the rest of the people are pre-approved user privileges. Somebody can be administrator, somebody can be a simple user, somebody has just view platform. Even if you share a simple Google Docs, for instance. But in blockchains, everyone is an administrator. And the major difference, everybody says, blockchains is same as database. Why are you using blockchains? Sure, it may be same, but they're not the similar. They may be similar, but they're not the same, because of this principal reason is everybody is decentralized. And secondly, in a database, you have these commands called the CRUD commands: create, read, underscore, and delete. In a blockchain platform, you can only read and write. You cannot delete or modify. So it's immutable, meaning it can be added on or appended to, but it cannot be modified. So when you're tracking a shipping or tracking goods within an agricultural value chain, or when you're tracking payment made to a farmer, it serves as a very transparent platform to use in a value chain. If you go to the next slide, Ananya, if you're operating. I mean, I've already described what is there in that, but if this is shared, this is a simple thing which is sources from Guardian, but because I felt that's the way best it describes what is. It is a digital ledger. I mean, if you're familiar with the concept of ledger, where transactions and contracts are recorded, this is a digital ledger which is decentralized and anyone can use it. And it is secure because it has blocks and transaction. And if you modify, you will know what is modified, and the permanent storage cannot be altered. It can only be added on to in terms of hashes or blocks. That's why it's called a blockchain. If you go to the next slide, and one of the ways, like if you see, I don't want to take the names here, there are a lot of technologies that have been hyped before and used as a solution to end the problem of transparency when it comes to using with farmers. There was once a mobile platform which is still being pushed by some parties, which was introduced with a lot of funding to sort of break the middleman per se, to directly connect a certain group of farmers with the markets. But the problem there was they completely forgot the human element in that technology, meaning a farmer would rather be exploited by a middleman who he has known for generations, rather than being used to a technology which he has no clue. So, I mean, I mean, I happen to be interviewing some of them and why they didn't adopt this particular software. Is this? I know his grandfather and his grandfather knows me, so I don't care if he makes 10,000 shillings out of me or whatever currency that is being used. But in a blockchain, there is no question of breaking somebody's trust. It's everybody uses it and everybody is able to see it as long as there is adaptability. That comes to the challenge of introducing them, how to interact with blockchains. So if you go to the next slide, are we already in the next slide? So at the moment, no, not this one, the previous one with the smart contracts and so on and so forth. Yeah, the smart contracts is how we can digitalize the contracts within a ledger system. And I mean, the next one with the four blocks. And then, of course, I did talk about the transparent transactions. Now, more and more, a couple of companies are trying to use IoT systems or the Internet of Things and linking it with the blockchain database, that a farmer is able to real-time track the progress of their crops. And that is one of the things in which we can use blockchains, and also to track the products for large-scale commercial farmers as well as smallholder farmers who form a part of like a community lab and become a large-scale through a union of sorts. They can track their products end to end, and they know what's happening. And if it is pre-stored in terms of what is the market value of crops, it also feeds back into their system, which can be done by traditional databases. Of course, blockchain adds that immutable value to it.
Valentine, I need to wrap up. 1 minute.
Yeah. So I've given a case study of how, for example, if you're doing grape farming, you can see in the next slide, from farmer to the shipper, how it can be used on a general role on the blockchain. So since I have to wrap up, you can have a look at it and always feel free to write to me. The challenges that are existing in the blockchain is the awareness, and it is often seen as resource intensive, particularly by the ICO companies who are generating bitcoins and so on and so forth. But I am not talking about blockchain from the point of view of a cryptocurrency, but rather as the backend database. And again, government regulation needs to subsidize so we can use technologies on solar platforms to run blockchain servers and build an ecosystem around it, not just a few tech companies or few futuristic thinking non-profit organizations working on it, but rather an ecosystem. And of course, more and more additional work is going on. Needs to be done. At the moment, we are testing the blockchains with refugees, creating digital IDs, and with some farmer agencies in Kenya and Somalia. And of course, we are planning to partner with Peterson International to see it. And we need to generate more and more case studies in order for people to understand how a blockchain works and how it can be translated in agriculture.
Valentine, I think you made one great point. Thank you for the one. We said a lot of great things. Blockchain is not cryptocurrency. I think that people are hearing blockchain and they think that's Bitcoin. And what we are talking about here is using blockchain as an evolution in how we look at data, how we manage data, how we can analyze data, how we can ensure data. So one question for you, and it's a tough one because I got asked this: how do we reduce the cost? How do we reduce these initial use of blockchain? Because there's, first of all, not that many people who know what they're doing, especially in ag. So how are we going to reduce the overhead, the entry points by which more organizations, more companies like us can work with guys like you? What's going to be the magic key for us to make sure that the technology doesn't control this, and by default we don't have impact?
I think volume is what can bring down the cost. The more people use, the less the cost will be. It doesn't take a lot to create a blockchain platform per se, but to maintain it will take cost because of the servers involved. And then we are pushing for two kinds of things. One is for this refugee UN agency that we are creating a platform. We are using solar panels as well as, it seems like an echo is there. Solar panels, and for transfer of data, we use the television spectrum known as Viz spectrum. So again, this is not a 5-year tested case study. We need to do more projects so that the volume can be spread. Without testing it and without increasing the volume, we can't bring down the cost, as is any commodity or any technology.
So by default, everyone who's listening, we need to be doing more and spending more and kind of absorbing these initial investments so that we can scale to reduce it so it becomes more accessible.
Absolutely.
Valentine, I think you and I are very committed to that, and also frugal development. I know, yeah. Are you there? Are you online? Can I see your smiling face?
Hello.
Yay! Ananya, can you bring that one up for us? There we go. So we're gonna jump right in. I know it's a little bit backwards, but I really think that it's maybe even better now because I want people to understand what you have designed and committed to building, and the scale of impact you've had in not just one commodity, but 3, but cocoa, obviously, I think you've had the most impact. So why don't you go ahead and start, because we're running late.
Thank you. I'm back. Finally, adoption of the technology. Can you hear me?
We can hear you
live. Okay, thank you.
Presentation as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry with the misuse of the technology. I'm Anuraf, CEO of PT Cultiva. So actually, this is not presenting, but this is like selling or marketing presentation. So Cultiva work in Indonesia in 3 commodities, right? Very soon we will work in other countries and in 10 commodities. So far we have 3 commodities work with in cocoa trade, palm oil, and patchouli. So we start in 2013 with the cocoa. We start only for project management system. We not talk about sustainability, traceability, but we only provide the project with the public-private partnership in Indonesia, the biggest project cocoa in Indonesia. With align 5-6 donors with 12 private sector partner. And right now, since last year, we provide also from 2 years ago, we provide system to trace the product, to trace the cocoa from farmer through the processing. So since last year, we have a direct contract with private sector partner in Indonesia, more cocoa boys in Indonesia, more or less, except 1 or 2 company. So we right now manage 100,000, 140,000 so far. So this slide is 2 months ago. With hectare more or less 120,000. And now, since 6 months ago, we also launched palm oil product to help the palm oil industry because, 2 years ago, we presenting the palm oil idea to bring the idea in cocoa to palm oil, and everyone in every private sector just no, it doesn't work. It can work in cocoa, but not difficult than palm oil. But so far we reached 10,000 farmer. This is 10,000 farmer, 18 hectare map, and also actually we just launched 3 months ago. So what the impact to the industry is, we help them to reach the farmer, to talk with the farmer, and also at the same time we capacity the farmer, because we not only provide the software, but we also have people on the ground to help the farmer. Next slide, please. This is our main product. So we offer software as a service to the company. to the certified holder. So because we are targeted certified farmer in cocoa, we have 35,000 farmer this last year, and this year gonna happen with 60 or 80,000 farmers certified. And the second product is farm evaluation. So we provide data collection, internal audit. So we run internal audit. Our staff, we have 220 staff now in the field, on the bus, in the bush. Every day meet with the farmer, coach the farmer, do mapping, do audit, and make the farmer comply with the certification. And also we help the farmer to do farm development plan. And product number 3 is internal management system and also the product traceability. Next, please. Next. Yeah, this is, if we talk no, back. Yes. No, slide number 4. Yes, correct. This is our main goal this year. So in the right side, you see the system. Our system can access by the input supplier, commodity off-taker, farmer cooperative, banks, public sector, NGOs, or project implementator. But what about the farmer? If we want to make them sustainable, make them independent, we should help them. So very soon now we on process to develop farmer app. So farmer will have an app. Since in Indonesia, maybe in Vietnam, 70%, in Indonesia, or 40%, based on our survey, farmer already have smartphone. So farmer will have access to the system. Since we have 150,000 farmer now, they will get farm get price from the commodity off-taker, agri input to connect directly with input supplier. So some of the commodity off-taker make a relationship with the bank, with the input supplier to guarantee access to the input supply to the farmer, and also give loan to the farmer, and farmer can access the loan based on our traceability transaction data. So every farmer have a profile, and every farmer can order agent, our field agent, if need the support. So if we talk about technology, yes, technology should be used by ourselves, our field agent, also by the farmer. So we introduce the system to the farmer and help the farmer to establish farm maintenance and replanting, and also other coaching related with the pesticide use or fertilizer use, and know-hows also. So farmer can get directly videos or SOP or code of conduct of certification, for example. So we will connect farmer directly with off-taker, banks, public sector, cooperative, and input supplier. Next. This our works to make farmer sustainable. So sustainable will start with sustainability. Start with traceability. If we don't know where they are, what the condition of the farmer, what the productivity of the farmer level. So first we map all the farmer. We visit all the farmer. We put all the information for the farmer, and then we connect with the agents, collector, cooperative, and warehouse or processing company in cocoa case. For example, this year, this farmer selling to the trader sell to the cooperative, since cooperative as certified holder, and cooperative delivery to the processing company. So processing company can access the data through until farmer level, how much they deliver with the quality, and later on, the processing company or cooperative can give feedback to the farmer. Please, next time you deliver the bean, more drier or more cleaner way, something like that. Then this is a detailed explanation related with the traceability. So farmer will have, right now every certified farmer have a ID card with QR code, and our trader and cooperative have a smartphone. They record the QR code, show the farmer profile, and record the transaction, volume, wet or dry, quality, pricing, and we also piloting with the blockchain technology. So we on top of our system is blockchain technology. We have an API with the blockchain technology. We send the transaction, and at the same time blockchain will send an SMS to the farmer, and farmer uh, will reply, yes, today I'm deliver 50 kilo of cocoa bean with this amount of, with this price and the quality. And also on the we also start like piloting with the bank, with BRI, biggest bank in Indonesia. So every trader is is an agent, and also at the same time like bank agent. So they have an ADC. So farmer can decide, oh, 20%, 200,000 cash, 100,000 to the bank. And also it is like saving account for the farmer, but also at the same time farmer can take money from the agent, from the collector. And every farmer have a farmer profile and also sales record. If they have smartphone, they can show directly to the bank if they need a loan. And
so I know,
yes,
you really championed, I think, something special in terms of the farmer transparency. Who is the farmer themselves, which is a question of identity, which is something that we will all continue to face in terms of scale.
yeah.
But I want to come back to you, something really special, because you still work with physical extension officers. So you mentioned that during your presentation, that we love technology, we want to see technology used. Can you talk a little more about a year one farmer who adopts your technology and is working with an extension officer? Do you see the use of that physical extension reduce year 2 and year 3 and year 4? Or does that farmer still want to have a physical outlet?
Because our field agent main focus is providing service to the industry, to the certified holder. Right. So our field agent will do internal audit. So in the future, if we have in the 1 year or 2 year after we launch the farmer app, so we'll reduce on the coaching plan. So farmer will get access through the know-how, and they can, and then we establish farm development together, and farmer will directly inform, okay, I do replanting today, I do fertilizer today. So we will confirm, our field agent need to confirm to make sure that they do the
sure, primary production.
Right thing. Yes.
But your goal, of course, is to reduce your physical footprint with each farmer, unless it's for an assurance component. Yeah. So part of the supply chain certification, you are hoping, and are you already seeing a reduction of that physical integration? Like the farmer, once they've learned the best practice, they don't need as much time. They don't need as much physical interaction with the field agent.
Yeah.
Whereas your goal as a business, continue to see your physical assets, your field extension, is that also going to continue to grow as the platform grows?
If we talk about the number of farmers, we just start in palm oil. We have 3 million in Indonesia palm oil farmers. We need to map. Yep. So in terms of growth of the field agent, we need, for example, with the Sinarmas, we right now on discussion to continue after we succeed of piloting to reach 500 meals, to help 500 meals to map out all the farmers, more or less 500,000 farmers. So who will do it?
No. And so I
Mill
know
staff, our staff.
I'm going to cut you off for 1 minute to link to a question from David King in the webinar chat, because he works with agroforestry.
Yeah.
And so in Indonesia, obviously, cocoa can be a shade-grown forest product as well. Most of it is. So David has got challenges. You know, I think that, David, I have to say, I love this. You're an agri-SAR. I'm stealing that from you. I work with a whole team of millennials, so I am now an agri-SAR as well. So do you think, so no, I think that he's also very interested, and I've seen your model, and what I think is I have a background working obviously with extension and farmers, and I don't think that farming is done in the dirt, it's physical. So I think that's why it's very interesting that sometimes we can default to technology as a value proposition, but farming is still physical. Farmers still need help. They need to be able to ask questions. So I think that, you know, touching on something David is looking at in terms of how do we help community forestry, you know, I know maybe you can wrap up your thinking about how do we adapt this model now into new areas, for example, into actually forestry as the commodity and not another agricultural byproduct.
We also talk about timber trace in Indonesia. So all the trace we already taking, or the commodity trace. So yeah, difficult to answer, but
I gave you a light question, a very easy question to fix, of course, all the forestry problems in Asia. So do you see Coltiva being able to expand to support other areas in forestry because of the success you've had in cocoa?
Yeah, this is one of our pipeline. So actually, in my previous presentation that I already cut from 11 to 7, we have a pipeline of the commodity. Timber is one of our pipeline, meaning forestry. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. So I think you and David should connect as well, because I think he's working only with community forestry. Something that we want to incubate is community forestry approaches, and we're already finding that it's incredibly difficult for these communities to learn about sustainable forestry practices. So, you know, this is an area that I see collaboration for the future.
I think this is also good idea, since we all so far 10,000 farmer, palm oil farmer, then I think 10% from 10,000 is 1,000 farmers are in protected forest.
Yeah.
So we give this data to whom? To the government, to the development agencies, or to the private sector? I think all the private sector, it's not our supplier.
That's a
question. So we still need to help them.
Maria has also asked us, who owns this blockchain and the data in the blockchain? Will this be decentralized? So maybe this is Valentine or Trong. I want to come back to you in Vietnam. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So maybe you could talk about that, and then I'm in a Valentine. I'd actually like you to answer the same question, you know, because we're about to wrap up, but I think that that's a really important, who owns the data?
That is up to whoever creates the blockchain platform to decide, like for instance, if supposing Peterson Group and DevCafe decides to create a platform from rice farmers, so they will decide in the beginning who will it belong to, who will be the nodes. That's why if I say that, I think David's talking about extension farmer groups having leaders of their own. So we try to have community labs or living labs where the farmers own some of the data. So it's open source for people within a particular network. Like slightly different from what Coltiva is doing is, for instance, we wouldn't engage Sinarmas at all because they are accused of destroying an entire biodiversity only to promote palm oil. So there are ethical considerations that we would think of as an agency to involve. But nevertheless, who owns the data for us would be determined by what's the best interest of the larger population and larger farmers at all. Just like how you create a database, you predetermine who would have access to. This one, we need to give access to everyone within a particular trusted network. That's why it's secure. It's not something somebody can just access. Blockchain is not open source. It is a database, but whoever is within that trusted network has equal access.
Right, but the software system is open source. But Trung, I'm going to jump to Vietnam now, Valentine. Trung, who owns your data? Who owns the data in Vietnam?
So we are talking about a lot of data to be created down the road, right? And some of the data would be owned by the farmers. Some of them would be owned by cooperatives, and some and we also have primary and secondary data. But a lot of data will be created by the system itself and by incorporating from other sources of data, for example, locational data, weather data, and so on, right? So data provided by the providers belong to the providers.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap up, guys, with one last question to each of you. Define for me, what is your ask? What is your wish now? What are you looking for? What do you need help with? Is it a technical partner? Is it a collaborator? Is it finance? What is it that you think your organization needs to do the next big, sexy, awesome impact thing? What do you guys need? What do you want? I'm gonna start with Ainu again. What do you need at Coltiva? I don't think you need anything at Coltiva. I think you guys have everything figured out for yourselves. But what if you had, what do you need as an organization?
We expanding to other countries, so we need local partner. So like for example in Philippines, we start discussion with some company in Philippines. So we will not open office in there or put staff in there, but we need joint venture with company in other country to establish or to run the system.
Okay, so you're looking for partners. You're looking
partners
and people to invest some money, not just to wait for you to invest.
Yeah.
Because we have the same challenge. Everyone wants our money, and I think collaboration is also about two-way streets. Valentine, what do you need? I don't think you need anything either. You're on mute, Valentine. You're saying something very important, but you're on mute. You're on mute. You're totally on mute.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we are looking for also partners. I mean, we have the technology, we have networks in Asia and Africa. We are looking for people who have live projects where we can demonstrate how blockchain can be efficiently used, mainly to bring down the costs surrounding to it. More and more people adopt this, and again, we don't push for it only when we think that this will make their lives easier, both from let's say the organization perspective as well as from the perspective of the people that they work for. Then we are more than happy to partner with them. In terms of funding and the technology, we are kind of sorted so far, I think.
Okay, Trong, so what do you need? The guys I know and Valentine don't need anything. What do you need?
I need to meet with you in February.
Oh, you need to, yes, I'm going to see you in Vietnam in February. And my dates are confirmed. I'll be there on the 25th. And Borja, sure. I didn't forget you. I'm sorry. I just talk to you all the time. So But Laura, what do you think we need? And we, by the way, I want to be frank. We do not have everything figured out.
No.
You know, I want to say this. I feel like right now, we are even developing work that we know we're going to throw away. So we're going into this with kind of big wide eyes and trying to figure out a lot of things, and we're investing. So, you know, Borj, I don't know that I have it all figured out. So what do you think we need?
Yes, we don't have everything figured out. Definitely, that's true. And I think that I would agree with everybody what they need, but we really need more partners and collaborators that are aligned with our own vision as well. That's not just about like saying that we are actually going through the same goal, but we are committed as Peterson Asia to not just development, but frugal and effective, and something that is actually applicable to smallholder farmers. and to improve that and to reach our goals for sustainable development.
It's hard. Guys, we need pilots too. It's great we're building a platform, and then we're going to go into vendor registration, and we're going to, the technology doesn't scare me, Valentine. What scares me is how do we figure out what Ainu has figured out, which is the scale of adoption. And do we need corporate sponsors to reach that scale? Because that also concerns me, Ainu. I want our platform to be something that becomes viral and sticky, and something that communities are using because they have an incentive without it being directly tied to the buyer of the product.
No, we're not against corporate sponsors of any sort. It's about the end usage of that thing. Like the technology we are developing for digital ID is purely corporate sponsors. We have no government funding for that, neither. And I recently shared a 5 million grant that is looking for, majority of that funding is corporate sponsorship, but channeled through the government. But so we are not against corporate sponsors. We're only against greedy corporate sponsors who are not going to take the money away by exploiting farmers. That is what we are against, which I think everybody should be against. But otherwise, corporate partners are our principal backbones in many of our projects. So it's just choosing the right one. And we need platforms like what you've created just now, like this webinar and kind of bringing people together, kind of events, irrespective of whether it's online or offline, so that we get the dialogue going. So people are not scared of blockchains or think it's technology. We are talking about blockchains. There are folks who don't even use mobile apps in major projects, which can make their life easy. So we are still talking about people who don't even use laptops, for instance, even in the so-called technology field, and even in the United Nations, and they see blockchains as something out of the ordinary, or just technology as out. That's why I think this dialogues and this usage is different, because it can be a powerful source if it is rightly understood, and if people are willing to invest their time and resources in testing it. And I think that's why I give kudos to you for saying that we don't know if it will work out, but we're willing to try it out just to show. I think that's the kind of attitude organizations should have. Without, it's not always about money, it's about what that can do in terms of reaching the impact. Even if you fail, it is a learning for others not to replicate. And that is a powerful research tool. It's not about, I think we were together in this Thailand conference where we talked about looking back at failures, not just at pushing to success, but also about looking at what didn't work out. And that's a powerful lesson.
So just to share, gentlemen, we obviously at Peterson, we would like to sponsor a blockchain hackathon for Asia. We don't have a scope of work yet, but I would love to invite collaboration with you guys. We will sponsor the events. So I'm going to reach out to each of you, and I hope that your organizations will be open-minded to participating to maybe solve a problem that's specific to your business. And let's continue the collaboration. Let's continue sharing ideas and asking people to talk about things. We will post this webinar online so people can see your work. We'll share all your contact details. And I want to thank you personally, because each of you does inspire me. Borj, you inspire me because I talk to you every day. And you haven't quit. So like really, well, because I make her crazy. I ask Valentine questions like, so I really want to thank you guys. It was our first webinar, and for me, I learned something from it. And I appreciate you guys making an effort to make presentations. But we will invite you because we want to find ways to continue our collaboration. Please, when you get that invitation, feel free to invite other ICT innovators or students or people that you think should be involved. If it's not ideal to host in Bangkok, I'll host it somewhere else. So please, really, I want to thank you again, and have a really great afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.